If you guys caught my F150 Lightning spec leak video, then you know I was pretty excited about the entry-level price and how reasonable it was going to be to get your hands on an F150 Lightning, but as more days have gone by, I've just been seeing a lot of confusion float around there and a lot of just non-transparent information from Ford, because I think there is a bit more of a pricey side to the F150 Lightning that was not so obvious at first when they unveiled it, because basically Ford wants to highlight two main specifications that can keep people excited and thinking that the F-150 Lightning is going to have a very happy, very large demographic of people to go off of. But those two specs do not go hand in hand. So the two numbers that they keep flexing everywhere is the starting price is $39,974, and that's before incentives, and I agree, that's a really great price. But simultaneously, they keep saying up to 300 miles of range. So pretty much every headline that's talking about the F-150 Lightning, including my own, is saying 300 miles of range, starting price of $39,000. So people just kind of associate the $40,000 Lightning with the 300 mile range, and it sounds like to get the 300 mile range, you have to shell out likely a lot more money than people are thinking. This became a lot more obvious to me once I started looking at the fine print on the F-150 Lightning website that was saying, essentially, the XLT and even the Lariat do not come with extended range batteries by default. So the $53,000 XLT is still coming with a 230 mile range, and the very confusing part for me at least is that Ford is not disclosing what the extended battery range costs. A lot of people have just gone ahead and assumed or speculated that the extended range battery is an additional $10,000, and I hope that's not the case, because that means the cheapest possible F-150 Lightning with an extended range battery is actually going to cost $63,000, which is not a great value for the money, in my opinion. And Ford has intentionally left out a lot of details about that base model Lightning, saying that they're going to talk more about it on May 24th. I don't know why they decided to wait about 5 days to give us more information on the base trim, but for now the website's just saying coming soon, and Ford executives are just saying stay tuned, we're going to give you more information later. But because they said more information about that base price was going to be available on May 24th, a lot of people out there just instantly assumed that meant that the base trim was not coming until 2024. So that's not true, but I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and different forums just instantly assuming that the Lightning base trim was not coming for another 3 years, which is just blatantly incorrect. That's not what Ford said at all, and it's a massive assumption made by the community. So I want that part of the record to be set straight. Ford is still expecting this to come out next year, and that does include the base trim, but Ford is likely leaving out a lot of things on that base trim to achieve that. So at least according to carandriver.com and many verified accounts on Twitter, they're saying that the connected taillight on the back of the base model and even that Ford F-150 Lightning XLT variant for $53,000, that connected taillight isn't happening, and also the interior display for both the base trim and the XLT is a smaller 12-inch screen. We don't exactly know what that looks like, because essentially all the pictures we've seen of the Lightning are only for the 15-inch portrait mode display, and the XLT and base trims are coming with Sync 4, not Sync 4A, so a slightly dumbed down version of the software, I guess. And Car and Driver is even saying that the XLT variant does not come with Blue Cruise. So I'm not sure how accurate that assumption is, but I'm seeing multiple people online say that the base trim is not coming with any hardware for Blue Cruise, meaning that the hands-free driving mode is not going to be an option for you now or ever. It's not like you could download it or buy it later via software update. It just flat out won't be a thing. And the fact that there's a good chance of $40,000 and $50,000 trims of this vehicle that still have 230 miles of range, even $60,000 if you consider that the Lariat is still shipping with the standard range battery pack, that kind of changes my perspective on the Lightning a little bit, because for the longest time I was assuming that the higher trims were going to ship with 300 mile range, and that was the default, and the 230 range was just so that they could hit that $40,000 price mark. But I think more so now, Ford does not have tremendous value with the Lightning, so they're basically just feeding us all the possible specs that make the vehicle look good, and essentially hiding the specifications that don't make the vehicle look good. And I don't really care for that kind of delusion of like hiding certain specs. Like, I think it's probably safe to assume Tesla will not come out with a single motor Cybertruck, or they'll launch it for a month and then take it away. But at least Tesla is disclosing to us that the 300 mile range Cybertruck is going to be around $50,000. Like, the price might actually fluctuate a bit when it comes out, but at least we know that the tri-motor 500-mile Cybertruck is gonna be about $70,000. It might be $3,000 or $4,000 more than that, but we at least know the ballpark, whereas Ford is not exactly giving us a very specific price target for the 300-mile range Ford F-150 Lightning. We're basically left to assume that the extended battery range pack is going to be an additional $10,000, and that means that the cheapest 300-mile range F-150 Lightning is going to be around $63,000. Sure, there might be some incentives in there that get it a lot closer to $50K, but making everyone just kind of guess and make their own assumptions and not really having any clear or obvious answers on the website and saying, well, when the configurator launches later in the year or next year, then you'll figure out what all these optional add-ons are going to cost. But we do know that the F-150 Lightning maxes out a little over $90,000, and that, sadly, I think is where the Cybertruck truly shines, because even if you max out the Cybertruck to get 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds, over 500 miles of range, 14,000 pounds of towing capacity, and you even throw in Tesla's super expensive full self-driving package, that's $80,000, okay? And that is clearly spec for spec much, much better deal than the F-150 Lightning, which still taps out at 300 miles. Whether you're spending 60 grand or 90 grand, you can't get much more range than that. And everyone knows that range is going to get nuked whenever you're towing something, so having a high-range pickup truck is kind of important in my opinion. So I guess just the lack of honesty and the lack of transparency when it comes to the pricing of the F-150 Lightning is confusing to me, and I hope that Ford can update the website soon and just kind of disclose exactly, hey, this is how much this costs, these trims are going to cost this much, because right now they're being kind of secretive about it, of like, oh yeah, all you need to know is it starts at 40 grand, just keep that on your mind, and the other models will cost whatever they cost. But that XLT variant with cloth seats, a smaller display, and a non-powered tailgate, and no LED lights by default, they even say heating in the seats is optional. We don't know what all these add-ons are actually going to cost yet, and I wish we did. I wish the configurator was more simple, and I just wish Ford would be a bit more honest with what the 300-mile range is going to cost. Because right now, it could be a $5,000 add-on, or it could be a $15,000 add-on. We don't know until they tell us, which just results in the internet miraculously pretending they know a bunch of things or speculating a bunch of things, and I'm not for us all just speculating exactly what Ford meant because they don't feel like telling us. I would much rather them just tell us exactly what it's going to be. If there's points or little things that I'm missing, feel free to correct me, because I'm doing my best to track down sources and figure out where people are getting a lot of this information, but as of right now, it's just leaving the whole community in a bit of a mess and resulting in a bunch of people thinking that certain trims aren't coming for years and certain trims are going to cost $60,000, $50,000, but I will agree, a $53,000 pickup truck that only goes 230 miles on a charge, that's not great, and Tesla was already seeing not much demand for the single motor Cybertruck that had 250 miles of range for $40,000. Now Ford is selling a vehicle much more than that with worse range, but at least it's all-wheel drive, at least we think it is. That's at least how I interpreted the event, but I think they could do better disclosing these specs. Hope you guys can understand it better than I can and help me understand the lineup better, because if what Car and Driver is reporting on is true, this does not look like the same value that I was anticipating. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.